Hello, my friends. In this video, I will show you the key that unlocks the mystery of Matthew chapters 24 and 25, a passage that confuses many people. But it can be understood once we have the key that unlocks the mystery. This will be the first in a series of videos that will explain all of Matthew 24 and 25, known as the Olivet Discourse. What is it? It's a long speech that Jesus gave to his disciples on the Mount of Olives during the last week before his crucifixion. Since it's on the Mount of Olives, it's called Olivet, and another word for speech is discourse. That's why it's called the Olivet Discourse. What is it about? Well, it certainly contains information about the return of Christ in our future, also known as the second coming. But there's other information given that certainly is not about his return. The confusion comes in knowing which part is which. Even some of the scholars are confused about it. And people who aren't scholars are even more confused because false teachers always use the poorly understood passages to prove their falsehoods, since it's easier to get away with. This passage is especially prone to scripture twisting in well-known verses which talk of wars and rumors of wars, a great tribulation, the gospel proclaimed throughout the whole world, the Son of Man coming with the clouds, and the separation of the sheep and goats. The passage is poorly understood and frequently misrepresented. But in this series, I will straighten it all out for you by reading the text in its context and showing you how to unlock that mystery. I wish I could say the key to unlocking it is a secret, and I'm the one who will first reveal it to the world, but it's not a secret at all. Many scholars know it. It can be found written about in the literature about this passage. But I do feel that most Christians are unaware. So when you know it, hey, pass it along. So that way more people can be inoculated against the lies. So watch out, false teachers. My new video series will ruin your day. Now, if we're going to read the passage in context, let's look at what is going on just before chapter 24. It's the last week before the crucifixion, and Jesus has gone to Jerusalem. He enters the temple. He pronounces judgment on it. He debates with the Pharisees. But as he and his disciples are leaving, they say to him, "Teacher, look at these great big stones." And Jesus tells them, all of this is going to be destroyed. Then Jesus leaves the temple for the last time, never to return. And they cross the valley to the Mount of Olives, from where you can see the temple on the opposite hill. His disciples then ask the questions which kick off the Olivet Discourse. So let's read. Matthew chapter 24, verse 1. Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" And Jesus answered them. The rest of the passage to the end of chapter 25 is Jesus' answer. Now note the question that is asked. It's very important for understanding the answer that we understand the question. His disciples have asked a two-part question, a when and a what question. And they're about two different topics. The first topic, when question, is about these things. Jesus had said all these things will be thrown down, so they are asking, when will the temple be destroyed? The second topic, the what question, is about the coming of Jesus at the end of the age. Now, it doesn't matter if the disciples' question is confusing because they ask out of ignorance, but Jesus answers from perfect knowledge. The confusion about this passage comes in knowing which topic Jesus is addressing in each part of his answer. But stop, let's think it through. If someone is a good communicator and you ask them a two-part question, what's the best way to answer? I would say answer all of part one first, then transition to part two, answer all of part two second, and stop. You're done. So let me ask you this. Is Jesus a good communicator or a bad one? Is he trying to confuse the disciples or straighten them out? I say Jesus is a good communicator, the best communicator ever. And it turns out this is exactly what he does. Answer all of part one and then all of part two and stop. How do we know? because of the key that unlocks the mystery of this passage, which I will now reveal to you. The not-so-secret key is to compare Luke's version with Matthew's. It's that simple. What does the comparison reveal? Well, whereas in Matthew, the disciples ask about two topics, in Luke, they only ask about the first, the destruction of the temple. Matthew and Luke then match all the way down for the first part of the answer. Luke's version ends, but Matthew's continues with the second topic. Let me show you that. First, let's look at the disciples' question as it appears in Luke 21, verse 6. Jesus says, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." And they asked him, "Teacher, when will these things be? And what will be the sign when these things are about to take place?" Now, this also is a two-part question, but both questions are about these things, the destruction of the temple, Matthew's topic 1. Luke doesn't include Matthew's topic 2 about the second coming, nor does he include Jesus' answer. Now, to help you compare the two passages, you could use a harmony of the Gospels or a parallel gospel reader tool if you have one. But I needed to do this exercise myself. And here's the chart that I made, matching the two passages verse by verse and subject by subject. What you will see if you do this is Luke sometimes writes more than Matthew, and Matthew sometimes writes more than Luke, but the two passages match up all the way to the end of Luke's part. Luke then gives a short conclusion by Jesus and stops, but Matthew keeps on going, answering the second topic, which Luke doesn't cover. So here's my summary chart to show it all at a glance. Matthew's gospel includes the disciples' questions about two topics, the destruction of Jerusalem and the second coming, but Luke's gospel only includes the first question about the destruction of the temple. Since Matthew and Luke's answer match all the way through and in exactly the same order, we know precisely where Matthew covers topic 1. And since Matthew continues on with topic 2, while Luke has nothing, we know that all that part is the answer to topic 2 about the second coming. Now, I realize this creates some new difficulties, but those will all be cleared up as this video series continues. In the next video, we'll look at another evidence that the first part of Matthew is about the temple's destruction when Jesus says, "This generation will not pass away." In summary, the key to unlocking the mystery of the Olivet Discourse is to compare Matthew and Luke's version. What you will find is that Matthew 24, verses 4 through 35, are only Jesus' answer about the destruction of the temple in our past, and verses 4:36 to the end of chapter 5 are only his answer about his second coming in our future. But there are more mysteries to be revealed in upcoming videos, so find the next one and watch it, unless it hasn't dropped yet. Because people need to know this stuff so that they won't believe the lies, and more importantly, so they won't spread the lies around. Now, please flip the record and play side B. Thanks for watching. God bless you. See you on the flip side.